Luxor was known as Thebes, the capital of ancient Egypt during the New Kingdom of Egypt. It was one of the most powerful cities in the ancient world. Luxor lies on the east bank of the Nile River, the longest river in Africa. There is East Bank, which is the city of the living, and West Bank, which is the city of the dead, tombs and funerary temples. Luxor is one of the hottest cities in the world during summer, with temperatures often above 40 degrees Celsius. Luxor has a huge number of ancient temples and tombs, including the Karnak Temple complex, one of the largest religious buildings ever built. Luxor Temple and the Valley of the Kings, where many pharaohs were buried. The Valley of the Kings was used for about 500 years, around 1550 to 1070 BCE, to bury pharaohs and powerful nobles of ancient Egypt. There are more than 60 tombs found there, although not all belong to kings. Some belong to nobles and royal family members. The walls were not just art, they were religious guides. They showed the pharaoh's journey through the underworld based on texts like the Amduat and the Book of Gates. In ancient Egyptian art, colors were highly symbolic and carefully chosen to express religious and cultural meanings, rather than just for decoration. Gold or yellow for gods and eternity. Gold was considered the flesh of the gods because it does not tarnish or decay. It symbolized immortality, perfection, and divine power. Statues of gods and pharaohs were often covered in gold to show their connection to the divine. Blue for the sky and the Nile. Blue represented the heavens, water, and creation. It was associated with the sky god Amun and the Nile River, which was the source of life in Egypt. Blue also symbolized protection, rebirth, and cosmic order. Green for rebirth and fertility. Green symbolized new life, growth, vegetation, and fertility. It was strongly connected to Osiris, the god of the afterlife and rebirth, who was sometimes shown with green skin to represent resurrection. Black for regeneration and the afterlife. Although black is often seen as negative today, in ancient Egypt it had positive meanings. It represented the rich, fertile black soil left by the Nile floods. Kemet actually means the black land. Red for power and danger. Red symbolized both life and destruction. It represented power, energy, strength, and victory, but also danger, chaos, and anger. It was associated with the desert, the Red Land, which was seen as a dangerous and chaotic place. The god Seth, who represented chaos and disorder, was often linked to the color red. Before arriving at the mortuary Temple of Hatshepsut, we passed several local sellers offering souvenirs such as handmade jewelry, small statues of ancient Egyptian gods, scarves, and postcards. The temple was built for Hatshepsut, one of the very few female pharaohs of ancient Egypt. It was constructed around 1470 BC during the New Kingdom of Egypt. The temple is located at Deir el-Bahari on the west bank of the Nile River, opposite modern Luxor. It is famous for its 3 large terraces, connected by long ramps. The design of the temple blends into the natural cliffs behind it, making it one of the most unique temples in Egypt. The walls contain carvings and hieroglyphics showing important events from Hatshepsut's reign, including her famous trading expedition to the land of Punt. Many of Hatshepsut's statues were later damaged by her stepson Thutmose III, possibly because he wanted to remove evidence of her rule. Today it is one of the most visited tourist sites in Luxor and helps historians understand ancient Egyptian architecture and religion. Although people often link it with the Valley of the Kings, Hatshepsut's temple is actually separate from the Valley of the Kings, which is mainly a burial place for pharaohs, while her temple was built as a mortuary temple, which is a place to honor her after death. The temple was built by the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses III, ruled around 1186 to 1155 BC. It is located on the west bank of the Nile, near Luxor. The temple was built as a mortuary temple, meaning it was meant to honor the pharaoh after his death and serve as a place of worship for him as a god. The temple complex is one of the best preserved temples in Egypt. It is surrounded by massive mud brick walls, about 18 meters high. The temple contains large courtyards, rooms filled with columns, and shrines. Scenes also show religious rituals, offerings to the gods, and daily Egyptian life. Many of the wall carvings still show original paint colors, which is rare for temples this old. The temple contains long inscriptions describing festivals, religious ceremonies, and the king's achievements. There are also scenes showing prisoners from foreign lands. The temple complex functioned like a small city with storage rooms, priests' houses, and workshops. It was an important religious center for the god Amun. The view from our hotel was amazing because we could see the Nile cruise ships sailing along the river. The cruise usually travels about 215 to 220 kilometers. Along the Nile between Luxor and Aswan. Most cruises last 4 to 5 days, although some can last up to a week. Many cruises include guided trips to famous temples and tombs along the way. You can see Luxor Temple. It was mainly built around 1400 BCE during the New Kingdom of Ancient Egypt. Pharaohs such as Amenhotep III, Tutankhamun, and Ramesses II added parts to it. The temple was dedicated primarily to Amun, the king of the Egyptian gods, along with his wife Mut and their son Khonsu. Luxor Temple is linked to the Karnak Temple complex by a 3-kilometer avenue lined with Sphinx statues called the Avenue of Sphinxes. The Abu Haggag Mosque was built inside the temple in the 13th century and is still used today. This shows how the site has been used for thousands of years. At the entrance are huge seated statues of Ramesses II and a large obelisk. One of the original obelisks now stands in the Place de la Concorde in Paris. For a long time, much of the temple was buried under sand and houses until it was excavated in the 1800s. Today, Luxor Temple is famous for its night lighting, which makes it one of the most impressive ancient monuments to visit. Luxor is often called the world's greatest open-air museum because of its many ancient temples and tombs. Luxor has a hot desert climate with very little rain. Tourism is the main industry in the city. Luxor has souvenir shops selling statues, papyrus pictures, and small pyramids. Clothes shops selling traditional Egyptian clothes and modern fashion. Jewelry shops selling gold, silver, and handmade jewelry. Spice shops selling spices, herbs, and perfumes. Food shops selling fruit, vegetables, bread, and local food. Craft shops selling handmade items like pottery and alabaster carvings. Markets, souks, large areas with many small stalls selling many different goods. Gift shops, especially near temples for tourists. Luxor has both tourist shops for visitors and local markets, where people buy everyday things like groceries and clothes. Traffic in Luxor. There are cars, buses, taxis, motorbikes, and bicycles on the roads. You often see horse-drawn carriages, calèches used for tourists. Many people also walk because some streets are crowded. Traffic rules may seem less strict than in countries like the UK. The busiest times are during the morning and evening. Near famous places like Luxor Temple, traffic can be very crowded with tour buses.